Hey everyone, welcome back to Bridge Stories podcast. This is season number 3. If you're new with us, this is a really simple concept. This is our podcast where we just set aside time and space for our people to share stories of encountering God and being changed by Him. We hope that as you hear the real life stories of these people, that it would challenge you and encourage you to push deeper into your relationship with God. If you would do us a favor and subscribe or review this show, that will help us get these wonderful testimonies out into the world that desperately needs them. With that, thanks for tuning in. Sit back and enjoy, and let's get into the interview. All right, another episode. Paul, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and doing this. I was telling you before, I'm excited to jump in. I know you well enough to have a good conversation, but not well enough to know the whole story. So I'm excited to hear it for myself too. So, yeah, we could just dive right in. I usually just kind of set the table. We kind of tell us where you came from, and then we'll get into present tense in a few minutes. But just tell us about yourself, where you came from, and then we'll figure out how you got here sitting in front of me.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm from California, born and raised in California, San Francisco. I was born in San Francisco, moved to La Jolla, and then spent a lot of time in San Bernardino until 1974 or 5. And my mom was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and the doctor told my mom that if she wanted to, live a happy, healthy life, that the best thing for her to do is to be in a climate that's more even, that's more not so hot and cold. Like San Bernardino is really hot in the summer, really cold in the winter.
Right.
Compared to other Southern California places, but. So anyway, they told her that would be the best thing for her. So my dad looked up and found out that San Clemente is like very even temperature year round. So I was a senior in high school, and my parents said, do you want to move now, or we can wait a year and we can move after you graduate? And I said, no, let's go now. I would love to move to San Clemente and graduate from San Clemente High School. And
no offense, San Bernardino.
Yeah, but see ya. So we moved in 75 down to San Clemente. Lived there the whole up until Julie and I got together. So I lived there for many years. Went to high school, finished high school there. Growing up in San Clemente was awesome, being on the surf. I wasn't on the surf team, but I had like 0 period surf, so at 6 o'clock in the morning, we'd have to be at the beach and go surfing. And it was not a tough life there. It was fun. So
you say you moved when you were a senior in high school, but you grew up there. So did you stick around San Clemente for a while after high school?
Yeah, we were there. I was there until 1990.
So like 15 years.
Yeah, I was there for a while.
Wow. And
Yep.
You made mention that you lived in La Jolla. Do you remember where in La Jolla?
I don't. I was a newborn, basically. I think we lived there. We lived in San Francisco for 1 year. My dad graduated from law school at Hastings Law School in San Francisco. So and after that, we moved to La Jolla. We were only there for maybe 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Before I came to Bridge Community Church, I was at La Jolla Community Church.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just said your dad was a lawyer. So was kind of the moves work driven?
No, so yes, they were. But so my dad never practiced law. He's a developer also. He just wanted the law background for his, for the company, for the development company. So he moved to San Bernardino because my grandpa had bought a lot of old orange groves. Well, not old orange groves, but bought a lot of orange groves in Redlands and in San Bernardino. So we moved out there to help develop those.
Yeah. So just as a passing hobby, your dad just decided to go to law school.
Yeah.
As one does, I guess.
Yeah. He got his doctorate in, what is he, a Doctorate of Justice, I think it is. So yeah, that's what he did for fun. Yeah, yeah.
Some people are just cut from a different cloth, I guess.
Oh yeah,
in that way.
definitely not me.
Was your home a Christian home?
So growing up, we went to the local Protestant church in San Bernardino, and we'd go to Sunday school, eat donuts, had to get dressed up and go to church. But it was a Christian home. My parents are both believers. My grandparents are. But I never had my own personal relationship with Jesus until much later. So.
Yeah, so, okay, you moved to San Clemente in 1975. I'm trying to, I wasn't alive in 1975, but I can only imagine San Clemente in 1975. Probably not the most Christ-centric, holy of places in the world.
Yeah.
And you said you're not following Jesus until much later in your life. So tell me what you were into, what you like to do as a young man then.
So I was on drugs.
Okay.
I started doing drugs at 15 years old. So
what was kind of the catalyst for that?
I don't even know. I probably just because I thought it was cool, or I wanted
your
to
friend group
fit
was
in.
into it, or
Yeah, and they were much older kids, but yeah, it was friends or neighbors, but I just kind of started off with that, and then
if you don't mind me asking, people use that word a lot, some people say I'm on drugs, smoking weed. Some people are that doesn't count. What are we talking about?
Cocaine,
okay,
crystal meth, and a little bit of heroin, but not too much. But yeah, mostly coke and crystal meth.
And so I guess I sort of knew a little bit of that, but I imagine San Clemente is not the best place in 1975 for someone who's kind of walking into a major drug addiction.
So, or it was the best place.
Oh,
because I was able to get it.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it definitely was. It was. It was a lot of drug dealers and people making drugs and making dope down in Vista, San Marcos, Escondido, all those areas, but super close to where San Clemente is.
Yeah.
But San Clemente was pretty small, sleepy town. It was there was Pico. I don't know if you know San Clemente at all, but Pico, I went to San Clemente High School. Pico just ended right at San Clemente High School. And then it was TRW, so it was all cows back there.
That's
wild. There was nothing. So yeah, it was bad. I mean, it was the cocaine would, flow through there pretty regularly, pretty easily. A lot of weed. I didn't do that, but yeah, a lot of drugs.
And was that something as you got older, so my experience is I knew a lot of friends in high school who were, experimenting with drugs. When it comes time to enter your 20s and grow up, some people kind of just walk away from it, and you realize there's some people that are just totally stuck and trapped. And even if they wanted to, they just don't have the tools or the ability to get out.
Yeah. So even though I had a really strong family, and still do, but when I was growing up, I hid it really well. I was one of those functioning drug addicts, I guess. I never missed a day of work, never stole from anybody. I worked really hard. So I guess I would consider it a functioning drug addict, but I did not walk away from it. It wasn't easy for me until I was 25 when I realized that I had a problem. And it was because another friend of mine that I talked to said that he was going through drug rehab, and I was like, whoa, why? He's like, because I want to get off, I want to get off the crystal meth. And so made me think about it, made me think, I need to maybe rethink what I'm doing. And then my sister, I called her and just was talking to her about my friend who had quit doing drugs and he's in drug rehab. And I was kind of laughing about it. And my sister said, well, do you think you maybe need to do the same thing? I go, and I think I right then and there said, yeah, I think maybe I do. And so she came over that night to my house and made me give her all my drugs, every little last baggie I had, everything. And so I did that with her, and then I started an outpatient rehab like the next day. But yeah, so I ended up doing that.
So you said you were hiding it. Your sister was aware that this was a problem for you?
Yeah. I mean, she wasn't aware there was a problem. She knew I was doing it. She didn't know how much I was doing it or to the extent that I was doing it, but she knew that I was doing it.
Just out of curiosity, I know not everyone's the same, but I feel like in my experience, just meeting and chatting with people who are struggling through some addiction issues, that there's sometimes like this pride of like, well, I'm a functioning addict.
Oh,
Almost
yes.
as though like that's better than someone else.
Yeah.
Was that, maybe part of the issue of even realizing you had a problem of like, I can handle this fine?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because you don't want to quit, And so, yeah, any excuse you can make up, any kind of justifying it, yeah, you're definitely gonna lean towards that.
So she takes all your drugs. Did you have like a feeling of like, hey, this is going to be way harder than I'm leading on? So what was that process like?
It was kind of like, until she came over, it was kind of like, well, I can kind of just keep this little stash over here or keep this little stash there. And then when she came over, and my sister is older, 1 year older than me, but she has a lot of influence over me, and especially in those days, and she still does. I mean, I really look up to my sister, but she sat with me and she's like, you got to give me everything, and it hurt. It was like, giving up a friend or giving up something that I loved to do and thought that I needed that, every day. So it was tough. It was really tough. And she didn't let any time pass either. The next morning we went to rehab, and like I said, it was an outpatient rehab. So I still had freedom, to do it if I wanted to. I could have gone back to the dealer or done whatever, but she kept really close tabs on me. So, yeah.
And at this point, is Jesus or faith or even being curious about it part of the picture at all?
No. Not at all. No.
So you're working. Where are you working at this point?
So I was a framing contractor. I had a partnership with my dad and somebody else, another guy. So I was working in El Toro. We were doing some houses, framing some houses. And in Long Beach, we were framing some stuff. So just doing carpentry work local. And which was good because my sister was still able to keep tabs on me.
Yeah.
So.
As a young man, what was your relationship through this like with your mom and dad? Were they aware of it? Was it just like your sister's like, hey, I'm going to keep tabs on you, but we don't have to tell them? What was that kind of?
It was funny because my parents were gone the day that I told my sister that my sister and I talked, that my parents were out of town for some reason. So we didn't tell my parents until they got back. By the time they got back, I was already signed up with, drug rehab and given up everything. And so it was kind of easier to tell them because I was already made the commitment to quitting, basically. And my mom was really sad. She's like, why? She was sad because I had to go through that, is the way she looked at it, and she was like, she's like, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I hope that we can get through that. But they both got behind me and were like super supportive. And my whole family was very supportive. So
on the rehab front, was it one stint and you were clean? Was there kind of reversing course times?
No. Well, and I hear that's really like from the counselors. My dad, they would have family day, where everybody would come, the whole family would come for a session. And they said that it's very rare. They told my parents to be prepared to go through this again and again and again, because they say most people don't get off of it or get clean the first time, the second time, the third time. So it was very unusual, I guess, for someone to go through it once. Statistically, it's more, it's just more of a normal thing to go through it several times. But I was happy to only have to go through the whole detox and all that stuff once.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I have two questions. I don't want to forget them, but the first one is, there's a lot of people living life. We're at a church. It's not a huge church, but there's people supporting loved ones who are going through addiction issues. There's people who are, maybe quietly going through an addiction issue. They haven't told anyone. They're functioning and they're telling themselves this story. Like, I got it. Nobody has to know.
Yeah.
What would your words of wisdom be, maybe first for someone who's supporting someone? Because from what I know, a huge portion of if you're going to make it is what your support system is. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like, whether she had some training or not, your sister intuitively knew exactly what to do. Give it all to me, and then I'm going to keep tabs on you. And then you had parents who didn't sound like they kicked you while you were down and humiliated you. It was more like, we're behind you.
Yep.
We got you. So what would you say to someone who's maybe supporting someone who's struggling? And then I guess the second part, so I don't forget, is if someone's listening and they're like, I'm quietly dealing with an addiction issue, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's porn or something like that. Mm-hmm. What would be a piece of wisdom you have for that person as well?
Okay, so first of all, I think that when in supporting people going through it, I think you hit on it a minute ago. Like, don't kick them while they're down. They know that they know they're here or there for a reason, that they've gotten themselves into this, and but also tough love. Like in the rehab, a big portion of the family days was tough love. You don't become an enabler. Because it's really easy to fall into, especially for, moms with their sons or dads with their daughters, whatever it is, it's real easy to fall into the enabling part of it. And tough love is, probably the best way to go. Well, it is the best way to go. It was for me. But also, nobody kicked me while I was down. Nobody gave me a hard time or said why or anything. It was always just like moving forward. So I think that's super important. As far as anybody hiding or doing things under the radar, I thought that I had it, under control, but I didn't. I mean, I was like, I couldn't go for more than 2 or 3 days without doing drugs. I mean, 2 or 3 days was a long stint for me not to do something, So it was every day.
Yeah, I don't want to like glorify it and give it too much airtime, but just for context, when you're saying, drug addict, what are we talking about? Is this like, if you had your way, it would be all day, a little bit every day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all day, every day. Yeah. Yep.
Wild. Okay, so I want to push this story forward, but you mentioned at this point in your life, like, Jesus not on the radar. It doesn't sound like you're actively like, get away from me, I don't want anything to do with God. It's just sort of like, he's not part of this picture, I'm living my own life. But he is part of your life now. So when you look back on this phase of your life, do you notice things now where you realize, oh, I didn't know it then, but God was kind of knitting things together or connecting dots?
Yeah, 100%.
I'm just curious to hear some of that.
So yeah, 100%. So a lot of the, not a lot, but a few of the people that were in my life at that time, some of the people that I was using with, are dead and gone now. In one way or either OD'd or just something else. Like alcohol, liver problems, like. So that is, I think God protected me from that. And I know he did. I know I was protected from that, but also through all of this drug use and coming through it and going through the rehab and all that brought me to meet my wife, but not in rehab. And she always wants to make sure I make that clear. She's like, I was not in rehab. But no, Julie, because I met her when I was going through it. And when I met her, I realized that I could have fun without doing drugs. Life was full of, joy and adventures and everything. And because of just our relationship, not because of drugs. And my other girlfriends that I had had during my drug use, it was because of drugs.
So your common denominator is we use drugs together.
Yeah, but not with Julie.
And how did you meet her?
A blind date, actually.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity for myself, but is that a thing where like, hey, right up front, I'm going to drug rehab, or is that like, hey, I don't want to blow it, so like I'm going to slow play this part of my life?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I think she knew. If she didn't know when we got set up on the blind date, she knew shortly after. That's a really good question. I don't even know that, Andy. I don't know. But she knew it right away.
Yeah.
Like I said, neither one of us were Christians.
Yeah.
So when we would go on dates, it was usually like a concert or, we would go to nightclubs and dance with our, all of our friends and, not everybody, most people are drinking, but I just didn't. So
the rehab included alcohol also, or you just decided, hey, that's kind of a gateway, I'm just going to stay away from that too?
Well, they did say that no substance, nothing,
Yeah.
no alcohol, no. I mean, like AA is all, you can smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, but
which is like a common AA stereotype.
Yes.
You go to a meeting and
Oh my
during their
gosh.
break, it's like everyone, dude,
Yep.
everyone's going to get lung cancer from the cigarettes
Yeah.
going up right now.
Yep. But so yeah, I mean, just meeting Julie helped me a lot. She helped me, probably as much as my sister to get through it. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
You made mention that when you met her, you realized you could have fun, and your word was adventures outside of drugs and substances. So I've been asked, I asked people, what should I ask Paul? And people who know you were like, ask him about his adventures. Somebody told me, ask him about racing in Mexico. So I want to know what
Was
kind
my
of...
kid one of those?
No comment. I want to know what these adventures are, because I think anyone who knows you knows, like, we were just at the men's retreat, like Paul Buster sleeps in a Sprinter van. Paul Buster has lots of hobbies. He works with his hands. He's a creative guy. And it doesn't sound like you're like I'm going to sit in a chair and read a book kind of guy.
No,
You're
definitely
like,
not.
if the sun's out, let's rock and roll. So
Yeah.
I want to hear some of this. What were you into as a freshly sober, mid-20s young guy?
So at that time it was Harleys,
Okay.
riding Harleys all over the U.S., all over the United States, but usually we would go to Sturgis,
Yeah.
we would go to Florida, to Daytona,
And when you say we, is this
Okay, so-
Julie's kind of in on this now with you?
So it was me, my dad, my brother-in-law Chris, my nephew Trevor, and then a whole group of other people, and Pastor Gene, a good friend of mine, Kenton Beshore. I don't even. There was probably like 15 or 20 of us when we'd go on a ride.
Okay.
And super fun. We would take off for, when we would do Sturgis, it was like a 10-day thing.
Is that
but-
South Dakota or North Dakota?
North Dakota.
North Dakota, okay.
No, South Dakota.
Okay.
Yeah, South. So yeah, that's what was happening at that time. Wasn't Mexico yet, but Julie and I did a couple of trips down to Mexico, like, down to Ensenada and Rosarita, just easy, simple stuff. But yeah, the stories that Posh is talking about, he loves the stories, but that's about racing in Mexico.
Okay.
And that came a little bit later, but
So I fairly certain you know Pablo here
Oh
at
yeah.
church.
Oh yeah.
You know, Pablo was on the podcast and he talked about his kind of, not his motorcycle days, because that would be past tense. You know,
Yeah.
he's still the president of a large
Oh yeah.
motorcycle club. But I also know from those stories that being around motorcycles is an interesting choice for someone who's trying to stay sober. Going to Sturgis, it's not like you just drive one way. You stop along the way. And, you know, there's things going on in biker groups and biker gangs that... so how did you navigate all that? Was it just pure, we're hitting the road for the adventure and the fun, or were there temptations along the way?
I mean, there's always temptations, but it was more for the fun and adventure. And like I said, I had my dad there, my brother-in-law there, my nephew there, my cousins, pastors. So it wasn't hard. And because the thrill of the whole thing is riding, you know, and seeing the beauty of, you know, of the United States and it's completely different than some biker experiences.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. I love to drive. I prefer it over flying, even if it takes like an inordinate amount of time.
Yep.
But some people just don't get it.
Oh my gosh,
People are like, oh, I can't believe you would drive through like the middle of Nevada. It's so ugly. I'm like, until you're there as the sun rises, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain to people who haven't done it, but I'm jealous of that part. I'd love to see South Dakota.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And the first time I saw like the Grand Canyon, the first time I saw Yellowstone on a Harley. I mean, I'd seen them as kids, but as a kid. But when you see these things on a Harley, or you ride through the tunnel of Yosemite and you see Half Dome, it hits different, you know? It's really cool.
Someone I trust, no shade to New Mexico, but someone I trust told me the only place in this entire country you drive through and you're like, yeah, I'd rather not, is New Mexico.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. This person was like, if you leave from California and you go through Arizona, you get to New Mexico and you're like, I've already seen this in Arizona. Like, just speed me up one.
Yeah, or Texas, forever and ever and ever going through Texas. Like, I love Texas, but going across Texas is worse than going through California, but it just takes forever.
Okay, so we'll get to the Mexico racing, but so you're dating Julie, young 20s. How long do you guys date before you decide, like, hey, we should get married?
5 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And what was that process like? So what year did you get married, just for context?
1990.
Okay, that's a good year.
Yeah. Everything for us is in fives. So we met in 85, got married in 1990, had Roxy in 95. And then Isabel messed it up because Isabel we had in 98. But so yeah, that's it's super easy for me to remember because I am really bad with timeline and and remembering dates. But so that made it. And I was born in 60. She was born in 65.
Dang.
So super easy.
There you go, all of it.
Yeah.
So people might not know, but Roxy was on last season of this podcast.
Yes.
So what was that experience? I spend a lot of time here with guys who are young dads or are about to become dads, and every experience is a little different, but the commonality is, I would just describe it as like, whoa.
Yeah.
The weight of the responsibility, the beauty and the joy. What was it like for you to become a dad?
Sorry.
Oh, don't be sorry.
So Julie and I had a really hard time getting pregnant. So it took, Julie went through, much like Roxy's story, Julie went through 3 ectopic pregnancies before, so 3 ectopics, and then by the time after the 3rd ectopic, they had taken out all of her tubes, or both of her tubes. So our only chance of getting pregnant or having kids was either adoption or in vitro. So we tried the adoption thing, which is really a crazy story, and so we tried the adoption thing. We thought about adopting from Ukraine, believe it or not. And then we quickly found out how difficult that would be for us, because you have to spend a lot of time in the country. Back then, you'd have to spend a lot of time in the country, and we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford the time. Like, we would have to be there for a month to spend a month with the kids in the orphanage, whoever you're going to adopt, and so that was short-lived, that whole adventure. Then we tried some other program, I think it was called Safe Families or something. We tried, but what that ended up being was just these people who were having kids and then trying to sell us the kids. So that was short-lived. So we tried in vitro, and then after we did one round of in vitro, and Julie again had an ectopic, because there was and I don't know exactly medically how this happened, because it's like they told us it's 1 in a billion chances of this happening, but there was like a little tiny hole in her uterus where they had cut her tube, or maybe it wasn't even a hole, just like a little ear of her tube that was left, and that's where the pregnancy was up into that tube. 1 in a billion chances. So that happened. Then, and Julie almost bled every time. It was like devastating. Julie almost bled to death the first time because we had no idea what was happening. We just thought it was, the doctor says, it's just normal stretching, and pain is, it's going to happen because you're pregnant. He didn't know Julie's tolerance for pain.
Yeah.
But anyway, she almost died. I was in Las Vegas on a job site and got a phone call from my dad that Julie was taken to the hospital, to the emergency room, because she's having an ectopic pregnancy, or she's had an ectopic. And I'm like, I didn't even know what that was. I had no idea. So I got home and went to the hospital, and they terminated the pregnancy. So that was devastating. I mean, every time you lose, something, it's devastating. But anyway, we had gone through rehab. We'd gone through in vitro. First one didn't work, was another topic. Second one worked. So that's when we had Roxy.
Yeah.
And that changed my life, changed Julie's life. She was born in November, and when she was born, it was like, you can imagine, like, everything that we'd gone through.
Yeah.
And now we have this, we called her a miracle baby for years. I mean, she is a miracle baby.
Yeah.
And so when I went to, so that was in November. December or January, maybe it was January, I went to a Promise Keepers. I'm still not a Christian at this time.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
So
this is 1995.
95.
You got married in 1990.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'm still not a Christian. Julie's not a Christian. I went to a Promise Keepers with some friends of mine because they said, "Oh, come with us to this Promise Keepers thing. It's down in San Diego. Kevin's going, this friend of mine who'd moved up to Bakersfield, and he was going with his church, and my friend was going with his church, and they're going, come with us. Kevin would love to see you." And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go.
You know what it was?
No, I didn't. I mean, I had an idea. For all the younger
audience, there's no Google that you're like, what is Promise Keepers?
No, and I wasn't going to ask because it's like, because they're asking me because he halfway thinks that I'm a Christian, just, I don't know why, but that's just it. He thought I was a Christian, and he thought he was just inviting me to go, not to get me saved, but just to go.
Yeah.
So we go down there, and we go, and there's 100,000 men that are attending this thing.
Yeah, those events were wild.
It was insane.
If anyone's interested, you can just type it in on YouTube, and you'll be blown away.
It's insane. And we went to, like Denny's or something, 2 miles away, and it's full of guys, and everybody's got their Bibles at their table and people are praying and they're talking. And I'm thinking, what in the world am I doing? I just thought it was so dumb. Like, seriously, I'm just thinking, what have I gotten myself into? A whole day of this with all these guys. And so anyway, went through the whole day. We had little box lunches. Everybody went out and ate their little box lunches and come back in. And then the last preacher who's preaching was talking about his daughter and how he was telling all of us men that just make sure you spend time with your families. Your families are important. Make sure you spend time with them. I know you're all hardworking guys, but make sure you spend time with your family, blah, blah, blah. He goes, when my little girl was born, and Roxy was a month old, and like all this is really fresh in my mind, but
yeah.
And so when he started saying, when my daughter was born, he goes, I was holding her hand in my hand, and I'm looking at her sweet little hand. He goes, and then I blinked my eyes, and I'm holding her hand, and I'm walking her down the aisle to give her away in marriage. And he says, it goes that fast. And I'm just bawling, just like I'm crying. I'm standing there, and everybody around me, every guy is crying.
Yeah.
And so, because the way he told the story was just amazing. And so then he's the same preacher that gave the altar call like 10 minutes later, or 5 minutes later. So I, stood. He goes, I'm going to make it real easy for everybody. Anybody that's not a believer, all I'm going to ask you to do is stand out in the aisle. And I was sitting on the aisle seat.
So it's real easy for you.
Real easy for me. So I moved out into the aisle and gave my life to the Lord. And my friends are looking at me like, what the heck? I thought you were a Christian. And it's like, well, I am now. So that was...
Yeah, that's wild. And especially like when you go back in time, I love that you don't know what you're getting yourself into. Mm. In my mind, just as a pastor, it's very clear God did something in you, because you literally were just telling me, oh, this is so dumb. What did I get myself into? So you're already pessimistic and not into it.
Yep.
So only a work of God would get to your heart in that moment.
Yeah.
And I want to push forward into your faith from that point forward, but I wanted to circle back because as you know, IVF, infertility, is like a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's just growing. It's almost impossible to hang around young couples, even 3 or 4 of them, and not find somebody who's, going through that struggle. So just a comment that I pieced together, and I know I interviewed her, and if people are interested, they can hear Roxy's story. But my first question is, in 1995, what is... I guess I didn't even register that IVF was around in 1995. And I'd imagine, but I'm just curious, your story, this is probably not something people talk about. What is kind of the story or the feeling around infertility in 1995? Is this like you just keep it quiet? What's that about?
So Julie's doctor told us after the third topic, he says, you're going to have to go to, a fertility clinic. And he says, I'm just going to warn you that they're very clinical. There's no, warmth. They're very, it's just a clinical thing. The doctors they're scientists, basically, you know. And so he gave us a name of a few doctors, and we picked one. And we went there, and he had, and again, not Christians at the time, but we came in to meet this guy, and he looks like Albert Einstein. His hair's wild. He's wild. He smells like patchouli oil. He has Rolling Stones albums and posters and memorabilia all over his office. He's playing, what was he playing? The Eagles, Hotel California, when we walked in. Like, not full blast, but playing it loud.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, this is awesome. We love this guy. And so he told us the story, he told us what was happening. And so for us, that experience was really good and fun. And then and it wasn't, Julie and I have always been open about everything, about my drug use, about our infertility, about, IVF. So I don't know. It was very, very new for sure. I mean, we went to, after Roxy was born, the next year we went to the reunion, because he has a reunion on Halloween every year. He has a reunion. We went to the reunion. There's like 10 families there, and that's it. That was like his whole patient. I mean, that was everybody.
Wow.
At that reunion. And I think there was 10 families and probably like 15 kids. And then the next year we went, the next year it grew and grew and grew. And I guess now I don't even know what they do now, but the last time we went was probably 10 or 15 years ago. And it's huge. So it was very new. And we're just glad that our experience wasn't clinical, but yeah.
I think it's awesome that that your daughter is now also so open.
Yeah, totally.
In a way that you watch, especially other young women struggling and feeling like the weight and maybe the shame, or I don't want to pretend to speak for young women, but and then finding a presence that's so warm, so understanding.
Yeah.
It's just like a cool part of your legacy.
That's cool.
That's like you two. That's your legacy through your daughter, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Okay, so Roxy's 1 or 2 months old. You go on some dumb trip that you got wrangled into. You didn't know what it was, and now you're standing in an aisle giving your life to Jesus. So if I have this right, you're going to go home, but your wife is not a Christian.
Yep.
So my next question is, you go home in your own language of like, I've been a Christian for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you tell your wife? What's her reaction? How does the story unfold from here?
So I
guess before you get it, does she know where you're going?
About as much as I did.
Okay, so
she knows.
Like, hey, I'm going with the guys.
I'm going with the guys, yeah. Yeah.
Not my husband's about to have a spiritual experience and
Yeah.
come home.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, you can.
So, yeah, I come home, and of course, Julie's, preoccupied because she's got a baby, and so I walk in the door and I tell Julie, I said, hey, I just gave my life to the Lord, and I became a Christian down there. And Julie's like, okay, what does that mean? And I said, well, I don't know. Let's see what happens, and see where it takes us. And we started like that same, or the next weekend, we started going to Calvary with Chuck Smith. And Julie wanted her own experience, so she, in 6 months later, she ended up going to a harvest crusade with a coworker, and she's still really good friends with this girl, but she ended up going to a harvest crusade with a coworker, and when Greg Laurie, it was Chuck Smith, I think, who did the invite this time. I know it's Greg Laurie's thing, but Chuck was there and invited, everybody down on the field. And Julie's friend said, do you want to go down and accept Jesus? And Julie says, no, I'm good. We're just going to chill, So she didn't go. Then a whole year later, we went as a family to Harvest, and Julie went down and gave her life to the Lord. So
wow,
a year and a half after I did, but still we went to church every weekend, and it was really nice. It was awesome.
What was kind of the early experience of following Jesus? Were you in Bible studies? Were you just kind of passively attending church and taking it all in? What was that like for you? So
at first, yeah, we were just going to church and taking it in, just listening and getting to know people. I met, through Julie's friend, I met little David, we call him. He's a friend of ours who now lives in Mexico City. But he walked me through a lot of stuff, like, because I would say, I had a million questions, like, why?
Sure.
So you don't cuss? What do you mean you don't cuss? Why don't you cuss? Does it say something in the Bible about that? And he would he would say, well, first of all, it's not a good witness. I'm like, wait, what do you mean a good witness? What does that mean? Like all these Christianese things, that I had no idea
Yeah.
what these things meant. But so he walked me through a lot because he worked for me. So he was with me every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And were you still doing framing contracting at that point? Okay.
We were doing remodels and custom homes at this point.
Okay.
So yeah, he worked with me. I worked with him every day. And so it was really cool because I had him right next to me, and he was young, he was young and cool. And he, his friend, I think it was his girlfriend even at the time, she was the one that took Julie. And so her and Julie worked together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they got to talk all the time. So it was interesting. And he would tell me about going to Bible studies or going to church on Wednesdays. I'm like, you go to church on a Wednesday? I'm like, that's so weird, man. It's like, and it's just all these new things to me. It was just different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm used to like, I'm used to doing I was used to doing my own thing, working on motorcycles or, hanging out with my friends, watching football, whatever, but never, ever even thought of going to church on a Wednesday. So anyway.
Well, I know that you sometimes do now because
Yeah.
I meet on Wednesdays and you show up.
Yeah.
So didn't it stay weird for you for too long?
Yeah. No, it didn't for sure. I can't even think of when we started doing midweek stuff. But anyway, he helped a lot. And I know that Julie's friend, she helped out Julie a lot, just walking us through things. So
I love that story because it highlights, the Bible tells us in the kingdom of God, like the structure is not the same as the world. So even as you said, like, this is my employee who's younger than me.
yeah.
And I'm his boss.
Mm-hmm.
But spiritually speaking, he's leading me.
Yeah.
I think that's like such a good reminder to people that the way of the world is not the way of
No,
the kingdom.
not at all. And I would have him like people that would work for me, like my subcontractors.
Yeah.
And somebody would say something about God or not believing in God. I would always go, David, come here. Let's talk to this guy. Let's talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So I would just listen and follow his lead. But yeah, it was cool.
I don't know if it's a personality type thing, but I love as you're talking, some people feel like a little uneasy, like, am I allowed to ask questions? It sounds like that wasn't your hang up at all. Like I have questions, and if you can't answer them, that's more of a you problem than a me problem.
Yeah.
I love that. So full invitation, sometimes people assume certain things like I'm not allowed to ask, or we have an internet connection. I can just ask Google or whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody here, staff, church members, are intimidated by questions. So if you have questions, and you're watching
that.
this, ask your questions.
Yeah.
I might not have the answers, but it's better just to be honest about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so you're a young Christian. Now you're in a Christian marriage. Your wife is a Christian. So what is being a Christian, now married, life is changing, have a child? It sounds like Isabel comes a couple years later.
Mm-hmm.
What is changing in your life? What's changing in your hearts?
I have to be honest and say probably not a lot, except for, going to church, meeting new people. I was always really close with my family throughout everything and still are at this time, because my family's all Christians.
And are they still Southern California native here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm very blessed. I mean, my mom and dad are here, my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew, Julie's whole family.
Mm-hmm.
So the only people that have moved out is my niece Blair, and her kids have moved to Texas right now.
Okay.
But other than that, and they're really good about coming anyway. But my parents, I mean, everybody's here. So, and everybody's Christian. So it's really a blessing. It's pretty cool. But at the time, I would say nothing. I mean, obviously, I'm learning and growing, but I haven't done. I haven't gone on any, haven't done anything yet because I still don't understand everything. So I'm still very not self-centered, but still very so I guess it is self-centered, trying to raise my kids, raise my one daughter and yeah, I don't know, not much yet.
Is this when motorcycle racing comes in?
After Isabel's born.
Okay, so I was told you have to ask him about that.
Okay, so in 1998, Isabel's born.
Okay.
We moved to Orange. Julie and I did. I wanted a house with 3-car garage so I could have motorcycles, and work on them and do what I want. We were in Irvine for a while.
Okay.
Being in Irvine in a 1-car garage, maybe it was a 2-car. It was a 2-car garage, but you can't have your garage door open for too long. It's like there's so many rules in Irvine.
I used to live in Irvine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but also, like, our budget wouldn't allow us to live in Irvine at the time. So Julie found this house in Orange with a 3-car garage, and I was like, Julie said, I found this house in Orange. Let's go look at it. I want you to come see it. She already saw it. She goes, I want you to come see it. And Julie is 6 months pregnant at the time. And I'm like, Orange? Where the hell is Orange? And she says, Orange, the city of Orange. I go, okay.
Very confusing if you're not from here.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we went to look at the house, and I loved it. And we're still in that same house. But we bought the house. Isabel was born like 2 weeks after we moved in.
And poor wife, man.
Yeah. Julie's a stud. But so Isabel's born now. We live in this new house. We meet our neighbor at the time, and he has a little neighborhood church. And so we started going to this little neighborhood church, and that was in 1998. And so that's when I started racing Baja and pre-running and racing and spending a lot of time in Baja. And Pasha.
It wasn't him, by the way.
No?
No.
Oh, okay. So I one time I wasn't racing. I was with James Matz, actually. I don't know if you know James.
Yeah.
So I was with James. James was with me in my truck, in my pre-runner, and my friend was racing, Bruce and George, and it was the Baja 5. It was either the 500 or the 1,000. I don't know which one, but they were racing and we were chasing, and so they broke down. James and I had to go in, run the course backwards, which is really dangerous to do because you're going to have a trophy truck coming at you or something coming at you. You never know. But we got down to where the car was and where the car was broken down, tried to fix it, couldn't fix it, hooked up the car to my truck and towed it on the race course. And James, he's navigating, right? He's telling me where to go because he was one paying attention on the way in because I'm just like bombing it, trying to keep us alive.
What is the landscape?
Oh, it's
pure desert.
It's desert, but it's like you're on a race course that you've had probably 300 vehicles go over. So the ruts are like deep, and the bottom of my truck is just scraping the center the whole time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and James is, he's holding on for dear life. I have the steering wheel, so I'm like just trying to play it cool, and James is like, blah. So we get to the race car, try to fix it for about an hour, couldn't get it fixed, so we hooked it up, and it's starting to get dark. So we start heading back, to tow the car off the race course onto the highway. And we're probably 10 miles away from the highway, so we have a long way to go. And long story short, we get stuck in a ravine because James, not to say anything bad about James, but his navigation skills got us into this ravine. And not anywhere near the race course, not anywhere near the highway, but we get stuck in this ravine and have to disconnect the car because my truck won't pull it out. My truck's not a four-wheel drive. It's a pre-runner. It's a two-wheel drive. Couldn't get it out of there. We disconnect the car. Then me and my friend Bruce left James and our other friend there in a ditch, and James didn't speak Spanish. The guy that was with Bruce didn't speak English, so those two are staying there. They've got it's cold. We get to Bruce and I get in my truck because we can get my truck out. We just couldn't get the truck out and pull the car. So Bruce and I get in my truck and go to the highway. So on the way to the highway, we run into a barbed wire fence, and Bruce gets out, cuts the barbed wire fence. We keep going, and we get to another barbed wire fence, and there's a tree. It was actually a gate. So we get to this gate, and there's a tree and like an old barn, and we pull up to it, and Bruce is about to get out, and I hear this, and I look, and there's this older Mexican guy with a gun in my head, pointing a gun at me, and said, no pase. We're like, no, we need to pass. We need to pass to go through to get help because our friends are stuck. And he goes, no pase. And I'm like, what if we give you money? Can we pay to get out? Can we pay you to pass? We have to pass. And he's like, no pase. And I said, can we turn around? He goes, no, and he wants us to get out of the truck. And I'm like, God help us. This is not good, And so,
it's an understatement.
Yeah.
Also, I got to reverse course here and say there is a phrase that says you should never leave your friends in a ditch, which you also did. But continue.
Yeah, exactly. But we also didn't want to leave the race car there, in this middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really bad situation. And but some reason, somehow, by the grace of God, I don't know what happened, but the guy let us go.
How long did he hold you there for?
Probably like 15, 20 minutes. It seemed like a lifetime. It was gnarly. Yeah.
Especially when you have a gun pointed at you.
Yeah. And you don't know. I don't know if the guy's drunk. I don't know if the guy's, I don't know what's going on. At least it wasn't some 16-year-old kid. At least he was like older and had a little bit of, calmness about him. But yeah, he let us go. And then coming back was a trip too, because we actually had to go to a different little town. We got a friend of ours who has a four-wheel drive truck, came back, and we're like, do we go the same direction and try to deal with this guy again? But we chose not to. We went a different way and cut down another fence. So, but that was just, there was so many, those adventures were dumb. I mean, there's a few of them. That was one of them. But
so you go home, honey, how was it?
Yeah.
I got a shotgun in my face on private property, and I almost got buried in the desert. Can I go next year?
Yeah. It was dumb, but I don't go anymore. So
we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So some of your adventures, and we can connect the dots if you'd like, I'd love to hear, but some of your kind of adventure spirit leads you. And you had said originally that when you guys were thinking about how to start your family adoption and you had felt like Ukraine was a place for you, you actually full circle, God brings you back to that place. And I guess I'm just piecing it together now. When you first mentioned it, you didn't follow Jesus at all. So was Ukraine just kind of on the radar as like, hey, that could be a place? Maybe our hearts are beating there in some way, but it's not like God's connecting the dots.
Yeah. So Blair, my niece that I was telling you about earlier, she'd become a Christian before most of the family, and she was going to Mariners. So Mariners is the one that had this program, this Ukraine program, adopting kids from Ukraine. So that's how we got connected to that and tried that, was through Mariners. Which is also crazy because one of my, and I'll tell you more about that, but one of my best friends, Pastor Gene Mulway, was a Mariners pastor. And he's the one that took me to Ukraine for the first time.
What year was that?
I'm so bad. I think 2016 or 2014.
Okay.
One of the two.
Okay.
And Roxy went with me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll back up if that's okay.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
So Isabel's born.
And this is around what? Late 90s?
Yeah, 1998 was
Okay,
when
okay.
Isabel was born. December, so basically 99.
Okay.
And then we started attending the church, our neighborhood church. And then we met Pastor Gene through Blair. And then Gene started. I was at this other church for a long time. The girls grew up in this church, the little neighborhood church.
Yeah.
So the girls both grew up in that church. Their best friends are from that church. We have a lot of our best friends from that church.
Yeah.
And but when I got to be really good friends with Gene through riding and motorcycles and all that stuff. So I got to be really good friends with Gene. And then Gene started his own church. And so when he started his church, it was it was like a plant from Mariners, but not really.
Yeah.
But it was Salt Church, and he asked me if we would come and be with him while he started this new church. So I talked to my pastor and let him know that I was going to be leaving and going to this other church, and because I was on the board, and Julie and I were youth leaders. So the youth group used to meet at our house. So I let him know, and he, graciously, said, yeah, that's awesome, and prayed for us, and we left. And then Gene and Salt Church, our church now, was very mission minded. Like everything was, Gene's whole goal was to get, instead of giving away 10%, tithing as a church, 10% to different missionaries, he wanted to give away 90% and keep 10%. That's where he wanted to get to.
Yeah.
He has been really good friends with Pastor Anatoly from Ukraine for years and years. And that's probably why the adoption thing with Ukraine was a thing back when it was a thing. But so anyway, Roxy and I, along with Gene and a group of other people, went to Ukraine, and in like 2000, I think it was 16. I think it was 2016. And I know I'm jumping way ahead, but I have to explain my other two kids.
Yeah.
But 2016 we went, and I got in a little bit of trouble with Julie because Roxy and I went, and we're supposed to just go to, Kyiv, and then to Lviv, and then to a gypsy village in Mukachewa. And we were going to do those things and then come home. But Anatoly said that there was when we were there, he said there's a real need for us at the front lines, at the frontline church in the east, in eastern Ukraine. In 2014, in Ukraine, Russia had pushed the people of this little village, Lugansk, pushed them out of the village and bombed them, like aggressively came in and took over and moved the borders, all that stuff. So Anatoly set up a frontline church there. It was just a tent church. So they asked if we could go, and Gene could preach there one day, and then we could also do baptisms, and we could take them supplies. They needed supplies really bad. So Gene talked to all of us and said, you guys all cool with that? And it's a war zone, it's like they're lobbing bombs. And
So you're telling me your wife wasn't like super psyched for you to take
didn't
your
even
daughter
know.
to a war zone?
She didn't know we were going.
Oh.
And because it wasn't
Word of wisdom to young husbands.
Yeah, please tell your wives. Yeah. So we got there and started talking about it and started planning it and started doing all these things. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I was like all on board. Let's go. If we don't go, who will?
Yeah.
I'm ready. And I'm talking to Roxy about it. Roxy's like, yeah, let's go. We were all for it. So we went. And then we got home and I was telling Julie about it and she wasn't so happy about it. But yeah, I had to make promises every time I went after that. Julie didn't even think like, oh, that's something I have to like talk to you about, going to a war zone. You don't do that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we went and everything was fine. We baptized about 15 people.
Wow.
We met with a lot of Ukrainian soldiers. We were able to give them winter gear. We were able to give them medical gear. Also, we had a doctor with us, so he was able to see a lot of people. And yeah, it was really, really cool, really fulfilling, really cool. And yeah, I won't do it again, but it was cool. I mean, I've done it again since, but not taking my daughter. I mean, we had to sleep on the floor because they were, when they were bombing, or the separatists or the Russians were lobbing bombs over into these neighborhoods, they would lob these bombs, that are called landmines, and they would hit the ground, and then they would come up and spread shrapnel everywhere. And so you had to sleep on the ground because the bombs usually spread shrapnel about 18 inches high. And you could see the walls where the place we were staying had shrapnel all over the walls.
Yeah, and you had told me the story about cleaning up a yard or something and accidentally throwing one of those in the fire.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Ripped through my sleeping bag, air mattress, everything, but I wasn't in it, thank God. Yeah.
So God brings you full circle because it ends up that you're not just there serving on the front lines. Your original, hey, maybe we start a family through adoption in Ukraine is not your timeline.
No.
But God's timeline. So talk about how that all came to be and what the product of that is.
So my friend Gene passed away, but we'd gone back to Ukraine several times. But he passed away in 2000, I'm going to get it wrong, 18, 19.
Yeah, and I don't want to brush over this just to get to the end of the story because we chatted for a while at the men's retreat. This is not like, oh man, it's sad my acquaintance passed away. This is like best friend, like in the real sense, not like we have mutual friends on Facebook like the world would do. So I don't know if you want to speak into that, but that was a huge pivotal moment for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gene was my spiritual leader. I mean, he really helped me or led me through a lot and taught me a lot, and I respected him a lot and loved the way that he talked about or his whole idea and philosophy on, missions, on tithing, and I mean just everything. And so we're very close. We've done a lot of trips together to Ukraine and back, and he got sick, and it happened really fast. Don't even know. It was a pancreatic problem. I don't even know, pancreatitis. But he went into the hospital like on a Sunday night, and by Thursday he was gone. And it was devastating for me. I mean, it was devastating for our whole family. But when he left, Gene and Roxy and I had started a nonprofit, and we did all the paperwork, we did everything, and it's really weird because he was like hustling us through this nonprofit. So let's get this done. Come over tonight. Let's get it done. And we came up with the name and turned in all the paperwork, and it sat there. I mean, it's like it takes time for what's it called? Legalese. What's the website?
I don't know.
Anyway, we did it on some website and
LegalZoom or something?
LegalZoom.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, yeah.
thank you. So LegalZoom, and we turned everything in and just waiting for it to come back. And the reason we created this nonprofit was to help serve Ukraine better without doing it through Salt Church, just kind of like its own entity we had, our own nonprofit, to where we can, help out the Ukrainians however we see fit, so we had that, all the paperwork turned in. Gene passes away. The day he passes away, I come back home from the hospital, and all the paperwork for the nonprofit is completed, signed, done, stamped, and on my front door. And I didn't even look at it for a year. I brought it in the house and just let it sit there because I just didn't want to deal with it. I just didn't want to. I was too hurt.
So related.
Yeah, and it was so early on, and so I let it sit there for about a year, and then Holiday, Gene's daughter, and son-in-law Holiday and Kyle, were going through some stuff, and I had called her and said, let's meet for lunch and just talk, and I felt like God was telling me that I need to give her, or at least the opportunity to look at this nonprofit that her dad started, that me and her dad started, and see if she wants to take it and run with it. And so she did, and that's what is today is the Hub OC, is that nonprofit. So she's taken it and done amazing things with it. Yeah. So Julie and I were on the board for a long time. We've rotated off of the board, but it's just so cool to see what she's done with that. And, it was, Gene and I started it, meaning it to be something for Ukraine, but it's also, she's taken it and done something local with it, which is amazing because it's still affecting the kingdom. It's still for the kingdom, and so that's the way I look at it. And she's just done amazing things with it. And the cool thing about it, another cool thing about it, is Lena and Pasha's cousin, Ira, was here for a while, and her son, 4-year-old son, was able to be part of the Hub, because he was in preschool or whatever. And there's just so many full circle things. It's amazing. But anyway, that's...
So when do Pasha and Lena come in the picture for you?
Okay, so Julie and I had been asked several times by Anatoly and his family to come to the youth conference, youth retreat, youth week, I don't know what they call it, but in Ukraine. And I always said no because, Julie and I had done youth ministry for a long time, and I was like, I don't want to do youth ministry anymore. I don't want to go to a youth conference and sleep on the floor, or I don't want to go and jump around and sing songs and go up there and,
Got the grouchy old man in you.
And get stuff thrown at me, But
my moment was when people started coming. It was a new school year, and I remember I think it was Ariana Grande was the new thing.
Oh my goodness!
And I remember year after year, it was like every year is somebody new. I got to learn the new stuff. And I remember someone came to me and was like, "This is the new big song," and I remember in my mind thinking, "I don't care about that anymore."
Yeah.
This was like a very distinct moment. It's very silly, but
oh my gosh, I was like, no, I don't want to. But they explained to us why they want us there, because they said when Americans come to a youth retreat, that more Ukrainian kids will come, and then that's more kids that are going to get saved and hear the message and hear the gospel. I'm like, oh, okay, now you got to put it that way. I can't say no.
If you don't come, people won't hear about Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. So Julie and I went. It was me, Julie, Paul Chaput, and my cousin PJ and her daughter. So
For people who don't know, Paul Chaput is Skylar's dad.
Skylar's dad, yeah. my in-law.
Grandpa's.
And Paul's, yeah. So we decided to go. And sure enough, we're sleeping on the floor. You know, we're up on stage, jumping up and down to stupid songs and, you know, really having fun, though, of course. Yeah. And one day I'm down, because I can't sleep with the girls, you know, so Paul and I are sleeping over here. Julie is over here. And so anyway, I'm down there, and I'm with Anatoly or somebody and just talking. And Julie comes walking down. She goes, "Hey, do you got a minute? I want you to come meet this kid." And I go, "Yeah, what kid are you talking about?" And she goes, "He's this 10-year-old at the time, 10-year-old orphan boy." And she goes, "And I don't know what's going on." And she starts crying, you know, and I'm like, Julie's not super emotional, you know, she keeps it together pretty well. But she's crying, and she's like, "I don't know what it is, but I think God's telling me to take care of this boy." And I'm like, "What? You just met him. What are you talking about?" And she goes, "I don't know." She goes, "You got to come meet him." So I came up and I met him, and it's like, yeah, he's this cute kid, you know, and he's, you know, blue eyes, blonde hair, beautiful boy, and he's rambunctious, and he's climbing up on the tree and doing stuff. And I was like, "It's really nice to meet you, Pasha," and blah, blah, blah. And so then Julie talks to the girl who brought him there, because he wasn't there for the youth retreat. He was just there on his way back from a dental appointment in Kyiv. And the girl that was with him, or that took him from the orphanage, dropped off to say hi to everybody because her friends were there. And so that's how come he was there. So he was only there for like an hour. And so Julie talked to Oksana, was her name, and Julie talked to her and found out that he is adoptable. And Julie and I are empty nesters, by the way, at this time. Empty nesters. We're retired. We aren't, you know, we're traveling around just doing whatever. And God talks to her, and God says, "I want you to take care of this boy." So she finds out that he's adoptable. He has a sister, and in Ukraine, you have to adopt them both. You can't just adopt one and not the other. So now we come home, and all these, I mean, I could tell you miracle after miracle after miracle, and things that keep happening, that keep putting Pasha in front of our face. Like, stuff is like unbelievable. We're in Death Valley, and I get a phone call. And I usually don't answer calls with no caller ID, but we're in Death Valley, and I'm thinking maybe I don't know. So I just picked up the phone, and it's some guy from Minnesota wanting to know if we want to host a couple of kids from Ukraine this summer, or that summer, because they have nowhere to go for the summer. And I'm like, how did you get my number? And he goes, "I got your number through Anatoly, through Oksana." And I go, "Wait, Oksana?" I go, "Who's the boy? What's the boy's name?" He goes, "Pasha." And I'm like, okay, that's crazy. So Pasha and his sister, who we'd never met, we're going to host them for the summer. But it's just, there's a lot of different things that happen. But they came, we hosted them for the summer, Pasha and Lena. Julie and I at this point were like, we're all on board for adopting. We're full blast adopting. And, one more story. Holiday and Kyle were with them when we get a couple of phone calls or something, and we were with them when we got the phone call about him having a sister. So if we want to adopt one, we have to adopt the other. And Holiday goes, "We'll adopt the girl, you adopt the boy." And they'll be close together because they're Irvine and Orange, they'll be close together. And so it'll be easier for you guys to adopt the boy, we'll adopt the girl. It's like, okay, that's awesome. So at 3:00 in the morning, that morning, Julie and I both wake up, and we're like, Julie goes, "You awake?" And I go, "Yeah." She goes, "What are you thinking about?" I go, "I'm thinking about we need to adopt them both." And she goes, "Yeah, me too. We need to adopt them both." I don't even know if it would have worked out any other way, but it was just funny that they were willing to do that, but we didn't need to in the long run. But anyway, so we had Pasha and Lena come to the house for the summer. They met the whole family. Everybody met them. We asked them before they left, before we had to send them back to Ukraine, if they wanted to be with us forever, and they said yes. And so we started the process. Yeah.
And for context, Pasha set up this podcast stage right here that we're doing this interview on.
How crazy.
So what year was the adoption finalized?
2020.
And you got it tattooed on your arm.
Yeah. Lena was getting a tattoo by my nephew, Trevor. She wanted the adoption date tattooed on her. And then Julie said, oh, Trevor, save that stencil because I want to get it tattooed on me too. And so they both get it tattooed. And I'm sitting there just going, oh, well, I guess I got to get it tattooed on me too, But yeah, it was 2020.
You get a tattoo and you get a tattoo.
Yeah, everybody gets tattoos.
Yeah. And you don't have to go into detail, but you know what? So many of these stories can just stop, and then it's like, oh wow, this is so beautiful and wonderful. Adopted children from Ukraine.
Yeah.
But that hasn't always been the easiest thing all the time.
No.
And it's not just you. As kids adjust, and they're from different places. And what have you felt like God is teaching you in these last 5? I guess we're in 2026, so
That's
5.5, 6 years.
Huh.
Because if just in case people didn't pick up on it, it might be a different thing to adopt a newborn.
Yeah.
But Pasha was 10 when you met him. How old was he when the adoption was finalized?
12.
And how about Lena?
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of adopting kids who in a lot of ways have formed and created bonds and all sorts of things. So what was that like initially, and what has God kind of been teaching you in that?
So it was, at first, they didn't speak any English, and we didn't speak any Ukrainian or Russian. So that was tough. Every conversation, everything was Google Translate, it's Google Translate. And then I don't know. It's so funny because these kids just them. They fit in our family like crazy.
Yeah.
The judge in Ukraine said to us after she, agreed to the adoption, and we're taking pictures. She goes, "You guys really look like you're a family. You look like family." And I know Lena's a lot taller, and Pasha's blonde, but it's just they look and feel and fit in our family. And they're funny. They have the same sense of humor as we do. A lot of people from different cultures don't, it's I'm not going to say it's been easy like you alluded to. It's definitely has not been easy, but it hasn't been hard either. I think God has given all of us grace, a lot of grace through this whole thing. They're a miracle, they're a miracle. Julie and I, the other night, maybe a couple weeks ago, Julie and I are laying in bed, and we have Milo between us. Milo's my grandson, one of my grandsons. And Pasha's in his bed, Lena's in her bed, and Lena has Elle in her bed. And Julie goes, "Do you realize that we are like laying here with our grandkids and our kids, some of our kids, and like none of the kids in this house right now are actually biological kids. They're all given to us by God in a different way, And it's just like, I don't know, it's just a miracle, and it's just amazing. I never ever thought that I would be, a dad, first of all, of 4 kids, and now have 3 grandkids, and they're just, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of sacrifice, but it's sacrifice on their part too. And I think that's the biggest thing is we're all giving, and we all realize what a blessing everybody realizes what a blessing the next person is. And I don't even know how to explain it. It's God, you know?
Yeah. As you're talking, it just dawned on me. I think the 2 times you got the most emotional were talking about your kids. And, I know Skylar was up here not long ago on this stage on a Sunday morning talking about the adoption is the image of God for you, And I think the story is incredible because even before you knew God, God planted that seed that, hey, maybe we should check out Ukraine as a place to start our family.
Yeah.
And then you did it God's way, and I don't know what it was, 15 years later, God was like, hey, remember that dream you had? It's not dead.
Yeah.
It's for you.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And they're a blessing to our community as much as they are to your family. So, awesome. Thanks for sharing all that. I'm curious, as we kind of head for the finish line, we covered a lot of ground, and I think people will gravitate to all sorts of different things. But if there was something you wanted to just leave for people to chew on or something to think about, it's kind of a wild story. You're like an adventurous guy. Like we started. You upgraded from San Bernardino to San Clemente, and then rehab and meeting a wife and accepting Jesus in the aisle of a thing you didn't even want to go to, and getting stuck in a ditch, and then in Ukraine, and then it's like a pinball machine.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear in one laid out place as your life story. But I think the beauty of it is your life is so diverse in different ways that I think a lot of different people are going to kind of gravitate to it. So I'm just curious if you have kind of just some thoughts or some wisdom that you'd like to encourage people with.
So I got to say one more thing that I maybe didn't touch on at all. Julie and I were on a mission trip in Brazil. And everything was great. We went to a rescue house for sex-trafficked minor girls. So we spent a lot of time there. We, helped the girls. Julie did makeup with the girls. Julie did jewelry with the girl, like all kinds of really cool stuff. And then we went to a little surf town, Pipa, up in the northern Brazil. And then we came back down. We left ourselves a day to go to Rio and kind of check out Rio. And when we got to Rio, we tried to get an Uber up to one of the favelas, and just to check out a favela. And maybe we were like kind of thinking about maybe doing mission trips down there, maybe going to a favela and checking out, or taking kids or taking groups to a favela. And so anyway, we tried.
You're a wild man.
I know.
Can I get an Uber?
Well, they wouldn't give us the Uber.
I knew exactly that's where it was going to go. No one's driving you there.
No, they wouldn't do it. And I'm like, what? And the guy at the front desk, I said, why won't Uber take us there? I go, is there anybody that will take us there? And he goes, I got one taxi that'll drive you up there, but drop you off outside the favela. And I go, what's the problem? He goes, they're dangerous. I said, okay, well, can you get me the one guy that'll take us there? And so he did. And Julie and I go on this
upgraded from taking your daughter to a war zone to just taking my wife
to a favela. And so we went to this favela. We walked around with these 2 beautiful little girls, like they were like 12 and 14. And they walked us through. They're so proud of their favela, and they walked us through it, and just randomly met them, because the taxi dropped us off at the bottom of the hill. We had to walk all the way up. So we get down to the bottom after we go do this big loop, and these girls are introducing us to their moms and the grandmas and all the babies, and they're all sitting in the center of the favela. And all of a sudden, everybody starts running for the hills. I mean, they're just like, everybody's taking off, running. And Julie was holding a little baby, and the mom comes over and grabs the baby, and the 2 little girls grab us and run us into this little neighborhood store, and we're hiding under the cabinet. And you just hear, I thought it was thunder, but we're caught in between, in a gunfire between a cartel and federales. and they're shooting at each other. And we're right in the middle of it. And I have no idea what's going on. And Julie and I are like Google translating to these two little girls, like, what's going on? What is happening? So anyway, long story short, we end up like running down the stairs, and there's federales or police. I don't know what federales, but they're all in like their gear, bulletproof vest, helmets, the whole thing. And Julie and I are running down the stairs, and they're telling us, go, 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 go. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, So we get down to the bottom, jump in a taxi cab, and take off and go back to our hotel.
It's like a nice little romantic afternoon with your wife.
So the rest of the time we're there, we sat in the hotel and did like facials, like face mask, and ate burgers. Like everything was like, we didn't even go outside after that. But my point is like, or not my point, but fast forward 1 year, and Isabel meets, or is getting set up on a date with Eric from Brazil. And I'm just like, you're not going to date a guy from Brazil. I hate Brazil. And she's like, and she goes, and Isabel, being Isabel, is like, no, this guy's great. Roxy and Skylar love him, and he's a good guy, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, I don't approve, because my grandkid's not going to be raised in Brazil. And what if you, end up going back to Brazil? I hate Brazil, all this stuff. Anyway, then she meets Eric. Her and Eric get married and have a baby, which is only a month old. But like, Eric is like one of my favorite people in the world, So anyway, you just have to be careful what you.
God redeemed Brazil for you.
Exactly. Yep. So, yep. But anyway.
Yeah. I think, we've been talking in church about, there's this kind of tension, biblically speaking, of, God calls us to safety in him. And because of that safety, you get to live out risk.
Yeah.
And it seems like some people need to be poked and prodded into it, and some people might need to be pulled back a little bit, and that might be you.
Yeah. I love it. I think that, like, I love the statement, if we don't go, who will?
Yeah.
And I want to go. I know, like, my ministry right now is my son, my youngest son, and my daughter, and my grandkids, and my kids, all my kids. But there will come a day soon, COVID knocked out a lot of my travels, but I can't wait to take Pasha with me, and go on mission, and I can't wait. And I'm looking forward to doing, mission trips with Bridge, going to Mexico, going wherever. But I think it's time for me to do it again.
Chat with Haley. She's got some big ideas for some places that sound right up your alley.
I love it.
I was reading the other day, and I actually was reading, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the first time we were going to meet and record. And I wanted to share with you this. This is what God put on my heart for you, and we can wrap up. This comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 5. It starts in verse 17. It says, "Therefore, anyone in Christ is a new creation. The old has passed away, and behold, the new has come. All this is from God, who through Christ reconciled us to himself and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. Mm-hmm. That is, in Christ, God was reconciling the world to himself, not counting their trespasses against them, and entrusting to us the message of reconciliation." That's the bringing people together. Mm-hmm. "Therefore, we are now ambassadors for Christ. God is making his appeal through us. We implore you on behalf of Christ to be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God."
Wow.
So I hope that's an encouragement to you. But
Amen.
My experience, Paul, is, just since I've known you, you've always been like such an encouragement. I love your like, you know how guys are. Guys have experiences and they can't wait to tell everyone. You just have this quiet humility. You have all these stories locked up, and you're ready to share if someone asks, but not like the one-up thing. Oh,
yeah.
cool story, bro. I got a better one.
Yeah.
You never do that, and I love that we've been able to sit and chat for well over an hour and a half now.
What?
Yeah, time flies.
Wow.
And I know that this is going to be a major blessing, and I think you're going to experience what most people experience is 300 or 400 people or more are about to see this, and then they're going to be your best friend. So you're about to sign autographs and meet people very soon. But I hope that maybe the piece that you get is in your response to God's call to go, that maybe there's some people feeling stirred up of, hey, maybe that's what I would want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for people who know how to start that ball rolling, and I have a hunch that might be you.
That'd be great.
So we'll sign off here. Paul, thanks so much for
Thank
doing this.
you.
And I'm excited to hear what the outcome is when people listen.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.